Greetings, Doc John here, and I am the Entreprofessor. Today, let's talk about simulations and using simulations when instructing a course. So I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I talked a little bit about Harvard Business Publishing. And one of the reasons I really like to use Harvard Business Publishing is they are a clearinghouse for lots of different kinds of simulators. Not just ones that they create, but for a lot of other universities and institutions, even other companies that have created simulators. And why I love to use simulators when I'm teaching is that they create an experiential learning scenario, one where it places the individual in a scenario where they have to operate like an entrepreneur or like they are in the circumstance and make decisions. And there's, kind of algorithms behind the scenes that are allowing them to experience the kinds of results that they likely would if they were in that situation. So whether it's an entrepreneurship scenario or a leadership scenario or some other kind of business scenario, simulators provide a great opportunity for learning in a more experiential way. So not just reading about a concept and trying to conceptually apply it, but actually trying things out and seeing how they work. So I mentioned I really like Harvard Business Publishing for this because they have so many great simulators available and for lots and lots of different topics. So I'm showing here what it looks like if you're in the simulation section of Harvard Business Publishing. And as you can see, there are lots and lots of different simulators available, whether it be for strategy or business or marketing, ethics or management, lots of different ones that you can use here to illustrate a point that you're teaching about. The other thing that's great about these simulators is a lot of them come with a lot of supporting materials to help instructors to incorporate them into their courses, whether it's PowerPoint presentations that show, that just give a lot of the content that they can connect to it, or just those that can help to lead discussions and identify what was learned from a particular simulator. But I'll show a few that I really like. I'll mention a few that I am at least considering or think would be really useful. One I think is really helpful for an entrepreneurship scenario is one called the Food Truck Challenge. And what I like about this one is it creates a scenario where someone's trying to create a business and they have to apply the principles of iterative experimentation to figure out what's the best way to run this particular business. So the scenario is it's a food truck or it's a cart and you're selling frozen treats. And so you are able to learn about a particular town that has different areas where it could be popular to have a food truck or to have a vending situation. And there's market research that gives you information about each of these locations. And depending on whether you choose a hand cart or a food truck, you can run the simulation where you operate every day and make new decisions each day, or whether you have to make a decision for a whole week. But then the system will respond to the decisions you make and give you results. And so as you move your way through a 5-week run, you can determine whether a particular type of vehicle, whether it's a food truck or a hand cart, are better for a particular scenario, what menu works best, and what locations. And in that, you can adjust and adapt each time as the market gives you more and more feedback. One of the things that I like to do is turn this upside down and have students run through it a few times in reverse, trying to fail, trying to actually see how little money that they can produce, but learning about the algorithm, learning what makes the thing run, so that when they do finally get to the session where their job is to try to get the most money, they've learned a lot about how it works and what can drive those decisions. One quick warning for professors: if you're trying this particular technique, just remember that you can always take a week off and do market research. And when you're playing the simulator in the normal way, that means you lose out on those sales, but you get a lot of good data to support future runs. But if the goal is to try to make as little as possible, students will find out pretty quickly that they can just do market research every week and make $0 and end up at the bottom of the leaderboard, which might be the goal in that case. So one of the things I did was set the parameter that you can only do market research for 1 week, not all 5, and that levels the playing field. Another simulator that I found really useful is one called the Family Business Simulation. or Heritage Honey. And this talks about a family business that's operating over generations, and that family determining who within the family actually runs the business and who kind of steps into the role of just owner or board member. And then what are the things that happen? And as you progress through the simulator, you can see a whole timeline of events as a particular part of the family starts the business, grows the business, runs the business. Perhaps it goes to the next generation. There's even a family tree that shows generation after generation who it is that's running the business, or perhaps choosing to turn the leadership over to professional management. And ultimately, you're trying to figure out if you can grow the business to be a regional or a national or regional multinational or even a global international business. And if you make the right decisions, you have the opportunity to do that. And there's different scenarios, even from a country and culture perspective, that you can run it in. You can run it in a perspective of a family from India or from Brazil or a number of others. But it really gives the opportunity to help students think about what it is to create a business and to bring family members into that business, and then to grow that business over time within a family context, which can have a lot of really interesting dynamics. And of course, there's one that I'm looking at right now, a new simulator that I haven't really tried out yet that I think sounds pretty interesting, is a leadership simulation called Patient Zero. Seems very appropriate for our times, but you have a situation where there's a global pandemic and a little bit of a zombie apocalypse, and having to really apply principles of leadership through that. And so as you go through that, you can see it takes you through a simulation. It gives you information about what's happening in the particular time, and you walk through and you make decisions as you are given more and more information about what's happening. So as you can see, simulators really create that situation where you feel like you're in an environment and you're able to make decisions and get a response, even where you can't create a true experiential learning opportunity. These provide a way to do that. So I'm always looking for new simulators and looking for creative ways to bring them in. I've just discovered a really interesting one for the entrepreneurship space called Startup Wars, but that is a whole different topic for a whole different day. So I will dive into that in a future video. But I would encourage you, if you've not used simulations before, get into Harvard Business Publishing, try some of them out. There's lots of other places that you can find. Some simulators operate outside of structures like this, but they're a really useful device for helping students to experience some of the things that they're learning about. So I hope that's helpful, and let's keep going.